Welcome to Legacy Sips and Tips podcast with your geeky host, Lindsay Wheeler, where we talk about everything from death, preparing for your future through estate planning, life, the occasional breakup, entrepreneurship, general nerdery, and of course travel, snowboard, and always wine. Welcome to Legacy Sips and Tips podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay Wheeler, and today we're going to talk about my favorite subject, death, and how to talk to your loved ones about it. So today we're going to discuss something that's near and dear to me, death. Because when you think of death, think of me. Just kidding. But actually, let's talk about this with your loved ones, or how do you talk about this with your loved ones? You know, holiday times are coming up again, or any time of the year, frankly, you know, that you're with your family, your parents, your loved ones, maybe your parents are getting a little bit older. And this, of course, is not something we want to talk about to anybody, frankly. We want to pretend everyone's going to live forever and ever, and we're all going to sail off into the sunset and live happily ever after. Of course, that's not the reality of it. Bad things happen. People, of course, do get old. Ideally, they're going to pass away when they're 110 years old or older. So how do we discuss that with them to be sure that everything is taken care of so they don't leave you with a huge mess? Well, it's kind of a touchy subject. Nobody wants to be like, hey, mom, hey, dad, when you die, how are things going to be handled? But kind of, you have to have that discussion, unfortunately. So there are different times to do this. Of course, there's more tactful ways to do this. You can start real slow. Maybe you are at a family gathering, maybe a barbecue, maybe it's, a holiday time. Everyone's getting together, and maybe you're cooking in the kitchen or something, or you're together and you can say, hey, I'm just worried about you and mom. Do you guys have anything in place? It could be just as easy as that. Pretty simple questions there. You can ask them about, do they have things written out for you about what they want to have done? Do they have anything in place? It could be as simple as a discussion about, what happens if you get sick? What kind of decisions do you want to have made for them? You can ask them that. Of course, always start when they're younger, healthy, not in a dire situation. Obviously, if they are not having the capacity or the ability to make decisions, then it's probably too late to get some of these documents in place because they no longer have the capacity to do that for themselves. You can also look out for, if they are starting to decline, they are starting to get older, maybe they're having more difficulty. That's always a good time to broach that subject of like, hey, we want to make sure that you're taken care of, either yourself, if you have siblings or other family members, that, hey, we want to honor you. Do you have anything in place, or can we help you get something in place to make things easy for you? Because a lot of times people think, oh, if I get this in place, oh my God, I'm going to die tomorrow. And that's not how the Grim Reaper works. In fact, the Grim Reaper will be probably really happy you have something in place because you're making it easier for loved ones. So they're going to prolong your life. That's probably not real, but I'm going to put that out there. You can, rest assured that things are taken care of, and that takes a weight off of you. You're not waiting to get something done or hoping that you're going to leave your loved ones the mess or that it's somehow going to prolong your life. This really honestly isn't for you. It's for your loved ones. So you've obviously raised your kids, you've taken care of them, maybe even your friends, that you want to make their life easy for them. Why not do that through having their estate plan in place? It makes it so much easier for them. This is such a gift to give to your loved ones to take care of you when you're not here. So that's one way you can do that. You can start at family gatherings and just kind of, nicely say, hey, we want to make sure, maybe you and your siblings, that we want to fulfill your wishes, or have you thought about these things? Kind of gently put it in there. Obviously, if they're starting to get older, you may have to be a little bit more blunt that, hey, we need to make sure that you have something in place. Or you can ask, hey, we're just wondering, do you have anything? Do you have a will at least? Of course, bare minimum, at least, you're still going through probate, but you have a roadmap to follow. But even better, say, you could also do an education thing. Say, hey, I was listening to this podcast, this weird girl who wears a lot of black and has weird cats and talks about death. But, she mentioned about, estate planning and how much easier that makes it for everybody, that you can do a little bit of pre-planning to take care of this stuff for us. And of course, with that, you can always say too, with that estate plan, that they still maintain that control. They're not losing control at any point. They're still managing their assets and doing everything like they normally do, except for when they're not able to, you can step in and manage those things for them. Once again, such a gift to be able to do that it seamlessly happens. They're able to transfer themselves, if you will, or transition themselves as easily and peacefully as possible because they have everything in place to do so. You can also have a discussion about the actual process of dying and how expensive that is. You can always say, oh my gosh, I heard this crazy thing the other day about how expensive dying is in America, or whatever it is. You can make it up, frankly, just to get the conversation started, or say, if you have a personal experience with it of, oh, my friend's family just passed away, or father just passed away, and what a nightmare it was for them to have to go through that probate process. Hey, do you guys have anything in place? Or can we help you get something in place to make it easier for us? Be selfish about it. Be like, hey, we want to make this easy for ourselves. We want to make it easy for me. Let's help you get something in place. You can totally be selfish that way too. And that might help your loved ones or your parents transition their mind frame of that it really isn't for them, it's they're helping their children out. So those are a couple ways to broach those subjects, if you will. Today's wine of the week is the Omen. That's good with this one, isn't it? It feeds in that there's an omen about you having to get your estate plan in place. Tell your family members. Just kidding. This is a really nice red blend from the Sierra Foothills. It's a 2020. It's made by Atlas Wines. This one is just a California blend, so they just basically take California wine, typically usually sourced from Lodi in that area for this winery. It's a Zinfandel, Barbera, Syrah, and Petite Syrah mixture, if you will, or blend. And it's actually really nice. It's a nice little Tuesday drinker. You're going to have some burgers or something like that. This is a great wine to bring out. All the Foothills wines, Sierra Foothills in California, are really good Wednesday afternoon drinkers, Tuesday dinner drinkers, if you will. So good, solid red wine. And of course, let me know what you guys are drinking this week. With the holiday times coming up, or any time during the year, like I said, maybe it's summer times, a good time to talk about having things in place is those family vacations. So say it's summertime or vacation time, holiday time, and you are going to Hawaii, you're going to Mexico, you're going to Europe cruise, or whatever it is. That's a really nice time to talk to your loved ones or your parents about whether they have an estate plan in place, and for yourself as well. That is a good time if you're going on a big major trip to have something in place because, again, bad things happen. What if the plane goes down? What if the boat sinks? Whatever. The likelihood of that, not common, but things do happen. Maybe you ate some weird food that your body wasn't used to and you go into anaphylactic shock and you pass away because you shouldn't have eaten that weird tropical fruit. Whatever. This is a nice time to say, hey, we're going on this big trip. We should probably have stuff in place that if we don't come home, that things can be taken care of for us. That's a nice time to always have that discussion as well. And then it kind of can bring your family closer because now everyone's on the same page. You don't necessarily have to know what your parents have or your family has. You just need to help transition them to get it done. They don't need to tell you anything, frankly, and you can let them know that say, hey, we don't need to know anything. We don't need to know the details, but help us let you get this set up. Or do you have this set up? And if not, how can we help assist you to make that easier? Do you need to make an appointment? Hey, this High Sierra Legal or your estate plan online has this handy dandy workbook that we can download to go through some of the questions that they may need to have asked or answered. There are resources online, tons of resources, frankly, online. We have a blog, most people have blogs. There's AI now that can give you good, decent answers. There's do-it-yourself options. There's books. There's whatever you need to get this taken care of can be taken care of. The cat is very interested in this subject as well, as you can see, and she also likes the wine. So again, that's another good way to segue into that for your family. What would happen to the dog if you weren't here, Mom? What would happen to the cats, Aunt Janet, if you're not here? Where are the animals going to go? Would I have authority to take care of them for you? Is there somebody specific you'd want them to take care of these animals for you? Is there a rescue? Is there a charity you want to donate to? Hey, let me know, and let's memorialize those wishes. So those are ways that you can talk to your loved ones about getting their estate plan and their affairs in order before it's too late. I have clients who will call me in a panic and say, so-and-so is in the hospital, they're ready to pass. Luckily, they're still coherent. At least, luckily they still have their facilities with them, or their faculties, if you will. Their facilities. They're not a facility. They're faculties in order still, but their body is failing them and they have nothing in place. I have been to a hospital more times than I can tell you on a Friday, a Saturday, a Sunday, and that person passes the next day. So luckily we get that stuff in order. Hopefully we can get those things transferred, but a lot of times it's too late, or It's just past that point. Maybe they don't have capacity anymore. Maybe they're not able to enter into these agreements for themselves. So those are always good times to talk about these things. Of course, we don't want to. And then just letting them know that all this stuff can remain private. You're just helping facilitate them to get it done for them and for you. You can always say too, like say they have the legacy vault that we offer. That's all private to them. They are the ones who is able to access that information, but they're doing it to make it easy for you. So they can have it to where they have just a postcard that's in a sock drawer that says, hey, if I pass away, here's the login for this service, this legacy vault, and all of my information is there for you in one go. Again, what a gift. So just a little bit of pre-planning. I know it's a difficult conversation. Nobody wants to sit there and talk about this at Christmas or Thanksgiving or 4th of July or birthdays or whatever it is, but that's usually the time that people are happy. We're together. We're having, fun conversations about fun things, and you can always broach it into a more fun manner of like, did you hear about that crazy billionaire who left, $100 million to a cat? That's insane. Hey, what do you guys have in place? Kind of things like that. So it is the constant in life, of course. We're all going to die. So let's just be prepared as much as we can and have that done and ready. And so that's one less thing that we can think about while we live. Another thing that you can broach the subject with is talking about maybe, things that you've heard about bad things happening, about, oh, did you hear about that case of that probate? It was tied up in court for 4 years. Or wow, what a tragedy for their family to have to deal with that. Or the state got half the money because things weren't taken care of, or assets didn't go where they were supposed to go. It can also reduce conflict. This is an important one. So say you have siblings or there are multiple family members that may fight. I always say the best in people come out when people pass away, unfortunately. People get weird. People process grief differently. People handle money differently. When someone passes away, people get really bizarre and weird. And that is a good way to talk about it and say, hey, I want to avoid conflict. I don't want to argue with my sister or my brother or your aunt or your uncle or whatever it is, cousins, about any of this. You can tell us what you want, and no one's going to be offended if you don't want to give any of us anything and you want everything to go to a charity. Totally fine. Just give us the direction. So that's kind of a nice way to tell them that, hey, if you get this set up, there'll be no fighting, there'll be no arguing. We'll still all be really close family because you've given us the direction and we don't have to argue about it. So that's kind of a nice way too of also letting them know that they'll avoid conflict in the future if they get this in place for themselves and for you. Another nice way to broach the subject is by you getting your stuff in place. So you can go to your family gathering, holiday time, whatever it is, or show up at the barbecue before you're going on your big trip and say, hey, I know we're going on this trip, or hey, it's Christmas time. You know what gift I got? I got myself a gift of an estate plan. I am totally set up. My kids are set up. My spouse is set up. Our house is ready to go. Everything is in place. Do you guys have your stuff in place? Because, what an easy process that was. We went and talked with this gal who talks about death online, High Sierra Legal, or we went to Your Estate Plan Online and do it ourselves. It took us 45 minutes from the comfort of our home. And man, we have a full estate plan in place. It was so easy and so nice and fairly inexpensive. And now we have the peace of mind that this is taken care of. Nobody has to deal with it. So you can also bring that up, that you've done it and how easy it was for them to now get it in place as well for you. So just a couple options on how to kind of broach this difficult subject. Again, nobody wants to talk about dying or death or their parents passing away because that just sucks, frankly. Like, I don't want to think about that. That's a terrible thing to think about. But my dad and I have had this discussion about making sure things are set up. Does he have beneficiary designations on his assets? Does he have his estate plan in place? Does he have, certain charities that he wants to have, things being donated to? All those things. So nice discussion to have. Uncomfortable, of course, but you can make it as easy, as light, or as fun or serious as you want to. And if you have ideas on that, let me know. Or if you've experienced that or how it went with your family members during those holiday times talking about dying and estate planning, let me know, because we always like to share those stories. Thank you for listening to this podcast. If you found value, please like, subscribe, and share. And be sure to follow me on all the socials at Sips and Tips with Lindsay. And of course, you can always go to my website, sipsandtipswithlindsay.com, to find more information about estate planning, business, snowboard, travel, and of course, wine. as always, we have to get the legal stuff out of the way. I went to law school, so you don't have to. However, we have to read the special disclaimer that I am not a practicing attorney. I am not your attorney. I am not offering any legal advice in any content or any episode. All content is for your information and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for seeking your own legal advice from your own attorney or other professionals such as a CPA or financial advisor. I cannot give legal advice and do not offer any legal services or legal advice, but I do offer some fun and educational content for you to enjoy.